St. Kitts and Nevis will join countries around the world to commemorate the annual International Anti-Corruption Day on Saturday, 9 December 2023, a year that marked the 20th anniversary of the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. In recognition of the day, the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs launched its five-pillar Good Governance Legislative Foundation 8 December as the country strives to build a sustainable island state only achievable without the blight of corruption in all its forms. The day will also be marked with addresses from Attorney General Mark Wilkin and from retired Justice Pauletta Lands, the chairperson of the Integrity Commission.
As we, the Integrity Commission, recommit ourselves to this very important issue of raising awareness about corruption and its negative effects on societies around the world, we ask you, the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, to lend your voice to the cause. It is your right, it is your role, it is your duty to do the right thing and say no to corruption. Guard your integrity valiantly to secure the future of our country for the benefit of our children, even those yet to be born, and our fellow citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Eradicating corruption is not merely an ethical imperative, but a pragmatic necessity. It is a commitment to justice, fairness, and the prosperity of our nation. Corruption siphons resources away from critical sectors, hindering our ability to provide essential services, promote economic growth, and invest in the well-being of our people. A corrupt society breeds inequality, obstructs opportunities for the vulnerable, and fetters the dreams and aspirations of our youth. Therefore, the eradication of corruption is a collective responsibility, a shared commitment to building a St. Kitts and Nevis where every citizen can thrive without fear or favor. After all, as it is said in our Constitution, we are people who desire the creation of a climate of economic well-being in the context of respect for law and order. In our unwavering pursuit of a corruption-free future, St. Kitts and Nevis has embarked on a comprehensive legal reform journey. Our Federation proudly joins our trustworthy colleagues in the international community to stand united against corruption, with a formidable arsenal of legislative measures aimed at safeguarding the integrity of our institutions.
According to the Attorney General, the suite of legislation, including the anti-corruption legislation, are all aimed at elevating the good governance agenda of the Federation and building a more secure future for citizens and residents. Then Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
The National Housing Corporation, NHC, on Friday met with local contractors to educate them on the new construction technology that will be used by the East Coast Housing Development in the building of new NHC homes. Brian Singh, Executive Chairman of East Coast Housing Development, gave insights into the purpose of Friday's meeting.
The purpose of the meeting really was to educate the contractors, because over the period of time, via the media, no pun intended, we have been hearing that what the product is not, what the technology is not. So we felt that we should call in the contractors who didn't know and educate the people at large in the island as regards to what the naysayers was putting out there, and trying to convince the people that it was not a good technology, was not a good product or whatever. I think today after the meeting that everybody was quite happy. The questions they asked, that was important questions. And I think they left the meeting now thinking more than ever, listen, this is great. This is the new technology. This is the way of the future. And based on the fact that we said that we will be providing training for everyone, they were quite happy, because one of the things that was bandied about that it's a new technology and they don't know about it and there's no training involved. Yes, we have training.
Mr. Singh stood by the quality of the houses that will be built.
The question was that how strong is our construction, our home, the building that we put in up? Strange enough, people didn't know this, and we are saying, hey, we offer a 10-year warranty on all structural defects. And we are saying, listen, we stand by our building. Another question was that these things look paper thin. How it will fall is like the three little pigs. But we said no, now that we share the technology with the contractors who made themselves available today, it shows that these contractors are interested, they want to know what's happening, they want to know the way forward.
Meanwhile, SK Newsline spoke to some of the contractors at Friday's meeting who spoke highly of the construction technology that will be applied in this project.
Well, I just stepped out of a meeting from NHC with the Crete Farm system. I think it's a very good system. The people of St. Kitts and Nevis, they have to learn the system. It's an easy process, but it's a learning process. I think it's good for the Federation, cheaper for the people, stronger, it's not blocks, it will be all solid concrete. So I think it's a good thing for the Federation, it's a good thing for the people. They just have to learn the system. As contractors, we all have to learn the system.
Well, the session was quite good, but like I said, the system is new, and the guys will have to get acquainted with the system. But construction remains construction. It's just that the system is new to the guys. But once they get acquainted with the new system, all should go well.
The way it's explained and the structure of putting this together, I could see this can change our marketing in construction to a next level.
My name is Aaron Alexander. I'm here to represent Desiderata Engineering Services. In the future, it will prove a lot cheaper in the sense where it will give many of us the chance to afford to construct these types of houses.
Well, the presentation was very informative as it relates to new development that is needed as it relates to we transforming how our structure previously was to what we're doing now.
The contractors are going to be trained on the use of new building technology in the construction of the new NHC smart homes. Andre Huey, SKN Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
In an 8 December press conference aimed at introducing the legislative pillars of the good governance transformation for St. Kitts and Nevis, it was disclosed that while financial declarations have been filed by public servants and elected officials, the level of compliance remains low. According to retired Justice Pearletta Lands, chairperson of the Integrity Commission, an extended deadline was granted yet the response was low. The next step would be to forward the names of non-compliant persons to the Director of Public Prosecutions. For elected ministers of parliament, the chairperson said a majority filed their financial declarations and explained the next steps.
Most of them have done so. Parliamentarians were the first to file. And as I said before, most of them have done so. And the penalty, I should say, is it $30,000 or 5 years imprisonment. 3 years, I think it was amended to 3 years. 3 years imprisonment. So that is the penalty. But that would be after a chain of events have occurred. It doesn't happen just like that. At some point, we in the office have done certain things, and eventually, depending on the results of what we have done, for these matters or defaulters to the Director of Public Prosecutions for him to take necessary action.
And I inquired, have there been filings? There are persons who are outstanding. I say, oh, I've asked the Commission to furnish me with the names of those persons. And when those names are furnished, it's just a matter of putting in the names of the individuals into the charges which I've already drafted. I'm not playing. I am simply awaiting the names.
According to the Attorney General, a new day has dawned in St. Kitts and Nevis for the good governance agenda. Glenn Bart reporting for SKN Newsline.
The Nevis Appropriation 2024 Bill 2023, introduced by Minister of Finance in the Nevis Island Administration, Premier Mark Brantley, was passed in the Nevis Island Assembly on Thursday, December 7th. The bill appropriates certain sums of money for the use of the public service in the island of Nevis for the financial year commencing January 1st, 2024 and ending on December 31st, 2024. On December 5th, Premier Brantley presented a $202.7 million budget for the upcoming fiscal year 2024. The NIA has allocated the amount of $208.5 million to recurrent spending, representing 74% of the total budgeted expenditure, and having considered the expected uptick in economic activity for the upcoming fiscal year, is projecting to collect the amount of $154.8 million in recurrent revenue, which represents a projected increase of 6% when compared to the projected revenue of $146.4 million for the fiscal year 2022.
Overview is that we have turned things around in terms of our fiscal position. When we go to the middle of the next paragraph, it said at the end of the fiscal year, the statement of revenue and expenditure shows actual revenue collection total $234.33 million, comprising recurrent revenue of $136,517,998 and capital revenue of $97,811,557. The actual expenditure totaled $228.04 million, comprising recurrent expenditure of $177,342,710 million and capital expenditure of $50,692,736, which resulted in the surplus mentioned of $6.29 million.
All members of the Nevis Island administration on the government benches gave the bill their full support. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
The Guyana Defense Force announced on Thursday the deaths of 5 servicemen killed during a helicopter crash on Wednesday, December 6, 2023. The Bell helicopter bearing registration marking ARAYA was on a command mission under the command of Colonel Shahood to visit troops on Guyana's western border when it crashed. The deceased are Lieutenant Colonel Michael Charles, Commanding Officer of the 1st Infantry Battalion, Colonel Michael Shahood, Retired Brigadier Gary Beaton, Lieutenant Colonel Sean Welcome, and Staff Sergeant Jason Khan. The helicopter went missing about 30 miles east of Arao, Essequibo County, near the border with Venezuela. During an emergency press conference on Wednesday, Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, Brigadier Omar Khan, told media operatives that the search for the men on Wednesday had to be called off because of inclement weather. The Chief of Staff spoke candidly when asked about the decision to send 7 most experienced men at once on that command mission.
There's always looking back, there's always a better opportunity to see all the decisions we made. But I tell you, as a force, every time we are deployed, there's an assessment done. There's a map analysis of our flight route, and that was done. And the decision to go into that area was a decision made by the persons who would have been assessing the safety of that flight. And I'm trusting the judgment, the initiative, the experience of those officers who would have planned and execute and conduct that flight, that they made a decision that consider all safety parameters.
The Guyana Defense Force in a statement extends its deepest gratitude to the search and rescue team for their tireless efforts, working around the clock to navigate adverse conditions and challenging circumstances. The next phase of the operation, according to the GDF, involves extracting the bodies from the area, followed by the commencement of an investigation into the incident. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
The treatment for persons with HIV is more accessible and in most cases free of cost in Jamaica, but stigma remains a problem. Jamela Pullen tells us more in the Health Report.
The human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, infects and destroys cells in one's immune system. As a result, infectious diseases specialist Dr. Kathy Pate Robinson says this makes it difficult to fight off other diseases.
What it does, once it gets into your body systems, it infects certain of your immune system cells called CD4 positive cells. Those are cells that have specific markers on them. Some of them are lymphocytes, a type of white blood cell. Some are in the nervous system, some are in the tissues. But they have an immune function to regulate your immune system. When the virus gets into these cells, it hijacks the cellular machinery.
According to data from the Ministry of Health, it is estimated some 30,000 Jamaicans are currently living with the condition. However, a number of them are unaware of their status because they may not have any symptoms. But Dr. Paige Robinson says they do.
You might have rashes on your skin that you didn't have before. You might get thrush in your mouth because, you can't protect yourself from some kinds of germs. Might be losing weight, have diarrhea. The hair may change because your ability to absorb nutrients can sometimes be altered. And so you might become malnourished because your body can't manage the nutrition that you need and cannot really absorb it or keep it.
There is no cure, but there are several treatment options. Yet, Dr. Paige Robinson says persons are still afraid to come forward for treatment.
A lot of people, without meaning to or thinking about it, still feel that if you have HIV, it's your fault. You did it to yourself. That's not true. But that, in a lot of ways, is the underlying root of a lot of stigma and discrimination, apart from fear because of not enough information. So there's still some people who are afraid of hugging somebody with HIV, even though you can't catch it that way.
Persons can reduce their risk of HIV by becoming aware of the condition and using protection during sexual intercourse. With your health report, I'm Shamela Pullen, wishing you good health.
We begin in Gaza, where Israeli forces have intensified their attacks in the northern, central, and southern parts of the besieged Strip. And video has emerged showing at least 100 Palestinian men who've been stripped and made to kneel on a street in northern Gaza. They'd been taking refuge at 3 UN-run schools in Beit Lahia with their families. The Israeli army took them to an undisclosed location. Well, the Jabalia refugee camp has been targeted again in Israel's latest strikes. A building housing displaced people was hit, and overnight airstrikes killed at least 5 people in the Nusayrat camp. Funerals have been held for 6 men killed in Israeli raids in the Al-Fari'a refugee camp in Tobas. That's in the occupied West Bank. The army also stormed Ramallah, Hebron, and Bethlehem, leading to confrontations. Since Israel began its war on Gaza, 272 Palestinians have been killed in raids in the occupied West Bank. We'll get more on the fighting in Gaza shortly, as well as what's happening in the occupied West Bank. But we first start in occupied East Jerusalem, because that's where there's heavy security around the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, where tensions are high. And we have Sarah Khaira joining us from occupied East Jerusalem. So, Sarah, the Palestinian worshippers trying to get into Al-Aqsa, we understand, have been banned by Israeli forces. Tell us about that and what's been the aftermath.
Yeah, that's right. That's been the case since October 7 when the Hamas attack happened. That's in a few days. We'll be heading into 2 months of this. Every Friday prayer, people over a certain age are not allowed in. Anyone, usually it seems under the age of 65 for men, and for women it seems around under the age of 45 are banned from performing their prayers at Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the 3rd holiest site for Muslims around the world. Just earlier when we were speaking to you, we were actually pushed back by the Israeli forces just down the road here to my left is Wadi Jaws, and this is an area where the youngsters try and come along as they do with their grandparents and fathers, and they are often pushed back. Every week, in fact, they've been pushed back by tear gas and smelly water. Now, interestingly, this week, it didn't happen before the prayers took place, and we thought that's strange. It's a very quiet Friday, given that it's been happening every week and given that pattern. And then as soon as people were coming out, and I'm just going to show you where they were coming out from if you come this way. If you look just up the road here to my left, that entrance there that takes you to the right where that bus is going, that is one of the entrances to Al-Aqsa mosque compound. Now, people were coming out, worshippers were coming out, and before we knew it, the Israeli forces that you're seeing just behind me here as well, and all around me, in fact, they then were heading in that direction to Wadi Jaws in their dozens and were firing the tear gas and smelly water. Of course, we were seeing Palestinians looking out from their homes. It's become a scene they've become used to, but it still remains very difficult for them because there's a restriction of movement, not just when it comes to the basic rights such as performing prayers, but even movement around occupied East Jerusalem. Shopkeepers have been told to shut their shops earlier. Many people are doing that just for fear of once it's dark, and it's dark quite early now that it's winter time, that they'll be targeted by the Israeli forces for really just being Palestinian. If you fly the flag, it's always been illegal, and certainly now, if you're showing any support for those in Gaza, that can land you in jail. And if you land in jail as a Palestinian, you might be there for years without any charges, without even representation, without legal representation, and even children get held in detention. Last week, when we saw the Palestinian prisoners being released, some of them were from occupied East Jerusalem, and they were very clearly told they would not be allowed to celebrate. That order was also coming from Itamar Ben-Gvir. Now, that name is important because he once was on the fringe of Israeli politics, and then he became part of this coalition government, a far-right Israeli coalition government, with the likes of him. He is the National Security Minister. He also has convictions of inciting racism against what they call Arabs, i.e. Palestinians. He was also part of a far-right ultranationalist group that was banned. And that just gives you an idea that through him and through other ministers such as Bezalel Smotrich, who is the finance minister, but also in charge of the expansion of illegal settlements, illegal Israeli settlements in occupied territories, not just in the West Bank, but also in occupied East Jerusalem. More than 1,700 of those units were approved just a couple of days ago.
Right.
So encroachment isn't just in terms of land, but it's also in terms of everyday life. And this is just an example, Doreen.
Okay, thank you so much. Sarah Khairat reporting from occupied East Jerusalem.
Egypt is preparing for its presidential election that should see incumbent President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi win a third term, despite growing social discontent as the country's economic situation worsens. From December 10th to 12th, Egyptians will choose between Sisi, who has been in power since 2013, and 3 other candidates, who remain mostly unknown to the general public. In the Arab world's most populous country, with a population of around 106 million, preparations for the election are extensive, with some 9,400 polling stations, 15,000 justice employees mobilized, and a voting period spread over 3 days. The results will be announced on December 18th, unless a second round has to be organized. This, however, is unlikely. In the last elections held in 2014 and 2018, Sisi won 96% of the vote. While the president's supporters say the election is free and fair, posters and banners for Sisi and his party are everywhere. Posters for other candidates, meanwhile, are few and far between.
Second half action now. Cavalier FC went down 2-0 to SV Robin Hood of Suriname in the second leg final of the CONCACAF Caribbean Cup on Wednesday night at the National Stadium to lose the two-way tie 3-0 on aggregate. Player of the match, Franklin Singo de Cromo in the 89th minute, and captain Jamilio Richters in time added secured the dramatic win for the Surinamese club in a game in which Cavalier ended with 10 players. The Jamaican club had trailed 1-0 from the first leg final last week in Suriname. Cavalier's Chanel Thomas was sent off in the 55th minute for a second bookable offence. Incidentally, Thomas also collected the award for being the top goal scorer of the competition.
I think it's a positive campaign for us. I'm a little bit disappointed that at the end we're not able to win, but we can't take away anything from the boys. They tried, and we all tried as a team. I'm disappointed more than anything else. This is the 8th final Cavalier has played into this year. This team has actually gone to 5, and we have only won 1. So that's really where the disappointed is. We are not able to go over that hurdle.